Hello, and welcome to what I hope is the first chapter of a series for a project that I'm currently calling Tesla and Dragons. This one, I want to share what it is, why it is, how it is, and just what modifications I'm making to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons so that I can play with my daughter. So, what is Tesla and Dragons? Well, Tesla is my daughter, 5 years old. She was born with a rare genetic condition. We were told, actually, initially, when we were first found out about the condition, she wouldn't live past 3. Tesla's now 5 and doing well ish for her. But with their condition comes several complications that she has to deal with, that we have to deal with in day to day life. She has low muscle tone. She can't really do a lot on her own. Includes walking and just general movement is hard for her. Her brain doesn't communicate with her body very well. She doesn't have a lot of strength. Her energy is very low. She's mostly, and I say mostly nonverbal because she does talk to us, her mom and dad, but not too many other people, unfortunately, and very infrequent. We've had her say whole phrases that seemed very mature for her age at the time, but then never again can we get her to say those phrases again. And it's just little things that she says, and most people don't believe us that she does talk until spontaneously, every so often, she does it. And those people are like, oh, well, she can do it. But mostly she can't, very infrequently. So that makes playing Dungeons & Dragons very challenging. And actually, it was something I was considering, not really considering doing at all. But one thing we would say, and this is the why I'm doing this. I always tell people, because we're aware of Tesla's condition and what it means, that if there's something you want to do with Tesla, you just got to do it. You don't have time for waiting to see. You don't have time to let her grow anymore to see if she'll get stronger for it. What we tell people is if you want to do something with Tesla specifically, you got to tell us and we will make the accommodations to do it. And I realized when it came to Dungeons & Dragons, I had to follow my own advice. I had to do it. I had to make the accommodations for her to play, and then we do it. So, how did I do that? I spoke with her therapists, her occupational therapists, her speech and communication therapists, talked to them about what they were doing to help her get through some of these complications. And I put it in a way, I was like, I want this to be beneficial. I want it to be fun, but I also wanted to support what you guys are doing with her. I want it to be something that makes her stronger in the ways that we need to help her with. So, this is how I came up with my system. I'm going to explain it a little bit about how we're playing Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to explain about some of the changes we made. And yeah, we could definitely look at some other things, optional things as well. But the first thing, how do we play Dungeons & Dragons with Tesla when she's mostly nonverbal? So I came up with a system. Short answer is a lot of prep work. I come up with the paths for the adventure in advance because we want to respect her energy envelope, as they call it. She doesn't have time for me to go through and think of all the possible options that could come up with. So I need to have those done in advance. So I came up with a system that breaks everything down to 4 choices. Each one is color-coded. So there's one choice. This tends to be the exploration path. There's 2, which tends to be the social path. 3 tends to be combat, and 4, and I don't think these are looking quite right on the screen, but that is a 4. That is what I call the chaotic path, such as stopping a potential conflict by offering to play a game of cards. Try to put in that randomness, the crazy thoughts that come out from players when they play Dungeons and Dragons is what I'm looking to do, and I think it came out okay. So that's how we do it. So let me explain how we do it, or what other changes we made. So one of the big things I will focus on is Tesla's voice in this issue. She, again, is mostly nonverbal, not able to speak most of the time. It's just very difficult for her. So I try to maximize her choices. She is the one who makes all the calls for the story. So the first choice we make is she gets a companion, and the companion is based on a painting I had made for my wife this last Valentine's Day, and it includes the entire family. So we have Tesla, of course, who is the main character of this Dungeons & Dragons game, but she could choose every adventure a companion to go with her. So it's not necessarily a solo game. She does have a friend to follow her around, and that's going to be based on the rest of our family members. We have Draco, our son. He is a ranger. We have Faraday, our youngest daughter. She, I don't know how we came up with this. She's an artificer. Mom, always picking 2-weapon combat as much as she can. She is a fighter. And then there's Dad, the goofy, pun-making, beer-making poet. That is me. I am a bard. So, she makes that choice. Is the first choice she makes, and that companion will go with her. One addition I made for the game, to maximize her choices, she now gets to choose what the other NPCs are doing. So, if she chooses Mom will go with her on an adventure. That means Draco will go explore another location, and he will collect some gold to sort of help fund future endeavors. Faraday is going to find items or components to create random homebrew craziness that I come up with. And Dad will find helpful tips and lore about an area that will provide some advantage on a certain number of skill checks. Usually it is level based on how those rolls are made. If Mom is not chosen, she actually learns about, goes to an area and scouts out a difficult opponent that Tesla would have to deal with. And when the time comes to fight that opponent, she gets an advantage for a certain number of rounds on a certain number of attacks for that encounter. Tesla is playing Wizard, which is a strange thing for a solo game, which is why I gave her opportunities to get pets, opportunities to get allies. She's got her family friend to help her, usually be somewhat of a shield. But Tesla also, as I spoke with her in the way that we speak with Tesla, strongly indicated that she likes melee combat. She will choose spells from time to time, which we'll get into. But she definitely liked to do melee combat. She liked to get into the battle. So for her subclass, when it came to it, because we've done a couple adventures now, everyone is at level 3. So she got her subclass at level 2. She is a sword song wizard. Spell sword wizard. I can't remember the exact name, but you know what I mean. She's the melee wizard. So she got her set of armor. She got a rapier. She's focused on dex and intelligence. So when she's in her Blade Sog, she has a dex of 18 with shield 23. She's probably got the highest AC of everyone. So that is our characters. We can go into specific builds for each character if we want, sort of what my thought process is. But I think the next part we want to show is the adventure itself. So the game takes place in the city of Plentifield, a strange town that's never wanted for anything. Abundant water, abundant delicious food, cattle, sheep, fish, vegetables, fruits, wild plants that can be foraged. This town has always been a comfort for those who lived in it. But of course, it can't stay that way because we're having a Dungeons & Dragons adventure. So, Plentifield begins to see some strange happenings, mainly in the form of large rats coming into the city. Now, the city itself's reaction was strange. There was no response from the mayor of Plentifield regarding the rats. His choice seems to have been hunkering down. Also, there's a variety of innkeepers as well. The rats seem to be going after a large mill. The mill seems to be a focal point. The rats seem to be getting drawn into by the supply. Its population was controlled, but now it seems to be running amok. It's a danger to the city now that their harvest isn't threatened. So they need a brave adventurer, Tesla, to go explore and see if they could resolve what's happening. This is where the first part of our choices come in. Tesla got 4 possible places to go to explore this issue. This tells us what adventure arc we're going on, and this was sort of my beginning draft of how I began formulating everything. The first one, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's on my notes, A, B, C, D. But option 1 was go to the forest. So I put that in front of her. Explore where the rats are coming from, maybe put a stop to it. Option 2, go to the mill. Find out what the rats are doing. And again, see if you can put a stop to what's happening, because both are equally important. Step 3, go to the city, visit a shop vendor to see if they can assist you on your adventures. And possibly explore what's happening in City Hall, which is also very important. And option number 4, don't worry about anything, just go fishing. Again, you gotta include the chaos element as much as you can. That is Dungeons & Dragons. So again, in each one of those paths, you have 5 different encounters or choices Tesla has to make. Maybe you have to deal with some rats to go through the forest. You have to track where they're coming from. You have to maybe socialize with some other creatures. In the end, comes down to you fighting, choosing to fight or not fight a boss or an end encounter creature. And then once that creature is defeated, choosing what to do with that creature. Do you finish it off? Do you make a bargain? Do you force it to leave? Do you do the chaotic thing and tell it you can stay, but you got to make cheese? Many different things come up in the game. We've done 2 so far. Tesla has done a lot of different choices and has made a lot of different solutions for these choices. It can vary from how much energy she has when we play. Sometimes she'll use her left arm more, sometimes she uses her right arm more. Sometimes she clearly has a choice on what she wants to do. And no matter how I arrange the cards, she definitely goes for that choice. So there's a lot of variety. It's definitely fun to see. I let her roll the dice with a dice tower. She does have some issues with the releasing dice, just because, again, that brain muscle communication is not always the greatest for her. But with some help, she can do it, and she enjoys the sound the dice makes when it goes through. Each challenge, there is, like I said, an exploration challenge. There's a social challenge. There's a combat challenge, and there's a wacky challenge. If it's a social or exploration challenge, that tends to be resolved using a skill challenge. Make 3 successes before 2 failures. Make so many checks, and depending on how many successes you get, you'll get a certain result. Fail, and you're either going to enter combat or some other issue will happen. A lot of times, if it's dealing with a creature, you are entering combat. Otherwise, you get routed to a different path in the game. Now, because Tesla's 5, and she doesn't have a lot of mind for combat, and again, she's not able to speak, I do handle a lot of the tactical areas with combat. I do try to give her feedback as much as I can. I'll ask her, do you want to cast a spell, or do you want to use your weapon? And she tends to be consistent with what she wants to do. Sometimes she'll pick a spell. Oftentimes she wants to use her weapon in the form of Green Flame Blade, which, for the monsters we're fighting, which tend to be low level, low hit point creatures at this point, Green Flame Blade has been a great choice. Definitely helps her lower the playing field when there's multiple creatures, and it's just her and one other person. She of course has a chance to get allies, which she did in the last adventure. Convinced some goblins to help her fight a very large homebrewed bog creature that was part dinosaur, part wolf, and part plant. Because of the way the goblins are fighting, I had the plant creature go after the goblins first, and which is a good thing, because without the goblins, I'm sure the creature would have one-shot Tesla as well, being that she is a mage and at the time only had 10 hit points. But I guess that's what we're doing. It's important to note that, again, it is sort of a adjustment to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, focusing on Tesla's choices, giving Tesla a voice, doing a lot of prep ahead of time. But if anyone has any suggestions for adaptive play, and I'm sure there's a lot of smart creators out there, please leave a comment or shoot me a message, because I'd love to hear from you about how I can make this experience better for Tesla. I know I'm having a blast simply getting to hear her laughter and make funny noises for her, as well as silly voices. Of course, that's part of being a dungeon master. So I love doing that. I love seeing her make her choices and getting to describe those choices. Another question is, should we figure out a way to summarize the adventures? Each one is about 6 choices for Tesla, 6 encounters. We did the first one in one go, and it was about an hour. But that was a little bit more than Tesla could handle. So we do split it up into 2 segments now, and that seems to work really well. So about 2 half-hour segments to finish the whole campaign, and then not campaign, but adventure. And then it's another week or 2 for me to prep. I think I can get it down to doing 1 week. And that's something I'm still working on, is prepping each adventure as we go. That may be my next video, is how we prep an adventure for Tesla, because that in itself is a little bit of a complication. But that is it for me. If you are watching, thank you so much. Feel free to leave any comments or suggestions. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions about adapting for your own game, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to hear you. I do not have a sign-off tag, so good gaming, and I hope you guys stay safe.